Hi, so I'm making this video because I've been seeing a lot of stuff online with regards to manifestation and emotional growth that just like it can be either you have to be on a certain vibration to attract things, and you must prioritize gratitude and love and joy and all that versus what a lot of people would say would be like the lower emotions or the negative emotions like anger or despair or anything else like that. And I just want to put my thoughts in for right now about what that is. And I'm going to be real. It's going to be a really spur of the moment, stream of consciousness kind of thing. So I apologize right now if I'm going to repeat some things or if I just go a little all over the place. I'm just gonna go where my mind's going. Um, so I've been going through a lot of personal stuff lately where I've been learning how to refine my manifestation abilities, if you will. And so I was always able to manifest things, and I've learned that as living beings, we always manifest without realizing it or while realizing it, just how we do that. And it could be as simple as thinking a thought repeatedly and then that becomes a reality, whether it's something you want to happen or not want to happen, it just happens. Or it could be, a prayer or a gratitude practice or whatever. And so over the past month or so, I've been just going on watching all these videos on YouTube, reading all this certain stuff from 1,000 different voices. Uh, you know, there's just so many people online. I don't want to list anybody in particular, but they either have very different ways of doing things for manifesting, or a lot of them will have a very similar mindset with slight variations on how to do it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing. But if I'm going to be honest, I've gone through myself at least, I've gone through the whole spectrum of feeling gratitude for everything that I can and putting that as an active mindset. And I've also been on the spectrum of feeling a lot of pain and hurt from my own life experiences, even after all that. And, I've been through the frustrations of manifestations not happening when I thought they would happen, or that I wasn't actually doing anything, even though I've manifested many times before and I've been able to do it. And I just I think that it's okay, not just when you're manifesting, of course, when you're dealing with anything in life, it's okay to be upset. I want to share some of the things I learned from my experience thus far, um, so that people can feel better balanced if these lessons resonate with them. One of the first things I'm learning is that there really is no right or wrong way. There is no one way for doing something. You could have five, you could have 10, 100, 1,000 people say that if you practice this certain thing a certain way, like with gratitude and whatnot, it will be powerful. You're not going to push your manifestations away and all that. And you can even do that and feel the absolute strength of what you're pulling in. And that's not a bad thing. But I think that that also needs to be balanced with understanding that each person is individual and they have their own experiences. You're going to be totally different from me. You may learn something similar to what I'm sharing with you now in the future. You may learn it in a slightly different way, or you may not, learn something like that at all. You maybe learn something different. Um, I've manifested letting go of how certain people have hurt me in my life. And it's not as straightforward of a journey as it may first appear. especially when I've gone through periods of either absolutely loathing this person or absolutely forgiving them for my sake, not necessarily for theirs, and just feeling a sense of overall like joy and abundance and kind of laughing at the situation and the person, not in like in a, oh, haha, F you kind of way, but like detached, like I'm the writer of my own story. Like here, I don't know if you can see it. Write your own story. But even when I put forward those um, emanations, those manifestations that I let go, that I resolve this pain, there were still a lot of times in my life, even now, where I will completely revert back to going from here, right? Vibrating high, feeling gratitude, not really allowing myself to go below a certain point, or just like, you got to be mindful, got to keep going at it, keep going at it. Like eventually that just gets tiring. And it's not really sustainable in the sense that that's all you can feel. It's okay to be upset about how someone hurt you, about how you were impacted in a situation. It's okay to be there for yourself because, like, you can feel angry, you can feel sad, you can feel depressed, even. You're allowed to feel all that stuff. I think that there's just a fine line between allowing yourself to feel it and just simply stewing in it and saying that is what your life is and that's all it will be. Or saying that you don't have any control over how you move forward. Now, move forward isn't just being like, oh, let it go, just let it go, right? You've been on this for a year, just let it go. No, fuck that. Like, the path of grief is not straightforward. If someone hurt you, you can think up here of all the things you've learned about, like, oh, it doesn't need to impact you, or you can learn so many things from the experience, right? You can grieve so much and learn it up here, but there'll still be a part of you down here that's like a child. And you could have, say you were in an abusive relationship where the person was always yelling at you, blaming you for their problems and all that, and you probably took the blame for that. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. You didn't deserve that. But say you come across somebody else who explodes like that, maybe it's not even directly to you. It's very easy to fall back into that state. And I think there's a big trap right there when you're being told to just be grateful or to just, appreciate the lessons. Like, that's very important. It is. And to just push past it. But it's like, maybe it's also okay to feel upset about that because that's your way of leaving a situation that is no longer serving you, and also to address past patterns that have been holding you back, that you thought were you, that you maybe don't even realize are still there. I put forth the manifestation that I'm going to get over this pain, but sometimes for that to happen, I have to go back to those moments where I was being hurt. I have to feel all that and be stuck in the limbo, in the confusion of it all, because that is what is going to allow me to emerge. It's like when you're a caterpillar and you're putting a cocoon together, and when they're in the cocoon, their body liquefies and all that, it transforms. Maybe it's a very painful experience, we don't know, for the caterpillars, but like, they transform into a butterfly over time. It's just that they have to go through that process. And as human beings, we go through that multiple times in our lives if we allow ourselves to. Excuse me. Now, there's also a difference between feeling lower emotions and just being stuck there nonstop. Like, you can feel something like heartbreak, right? You can feel that for years, and that's okay. But if that's all you're allowing into your life, if you're not taking care of yourself in a way that's actually meaningful, if you're coming home at the end of a long day and you're stressed out from work, that's okay. And, it's very human to want to escape. I deal with that myself. It's very easy to want to escape. Just be on social media, be on the phone, watch YouTube, drink alcohol, smoke weed, watch porn, or whatever it is that you do. Um, Even video games. Like, video games aren't a bad thing in and of themselves, but they can very easily be used as an escape. You're not actually directly dealing with your emotions or the problem at hand, and you're not teaching yourself the skills to better allow yourself the room to, you know, deal with the situation better. Like, if you're stressed out all day, right? I've been stressed out all day sometimes from something that's bothered me. And there'll be moments where I just need to blow off steam and I'll just resort to watching YouTube or whatever for a few hours. But all that's really doing now that I'm learning this better, I guess, is that I'm just trying to gain a sense of pleasure that lasts good in the it's good in the moment, but it doesn't last. Like, I'm not dealing with the exact emotions. I'm seeking something that I'm learning now I could have given to myself in a far greater quantity from something else. Like, instead of watching YouTube for all those hours, I could actually be pouring into myself, giving myself that space, that grace through meditation and whatnot. Now, a lot of people may think that meditation is just, oh, you have to be clear, you have to be cool, you have to be calm every time. And sometimes you will have meditations where it is like that. Excuse me, sorry, I got something in my eye. Where you go from being here to being here, but that's only half the journey. The other half is allowing yourself to be here so that you can feel all this stuff and gain greater bandwidth with it, even if it sometimes feels like you go from having this much bandwidth or patience to this much or even this much, right? Like in the negatives. But you're still showing up for yourself when you do stuff like that, when you're engaging in habits that not only allow you to face what you're feeling and like have that grace and all that, and not even just push it away, because sometimes you can meditate and just do practices just to push away a feeling, you know just so you can be like, oh, yesterday I was patient but today I'm not, so I got to go back to being patient again. And it's like, no, like, the real battle is just being able to sit with the impatience and just kind of let it be, like, not necessarily stew in it, but just like, allow yourself to feel it. And I get it's difficult. It really is. I've been meditating for years and it's still hard for me. It's just part of the journey. But that just means that you have greater transformation and growth coming in, even if it doesn't feel like it. Another thing I'm also considering too is when you're escaping from an emotion. If you're saying, "Oh, I've been working all day and I do this and that and all that, and I'm burnt out. I have no energy, whatever. I'll meditate when I have time, or I'll just, I only have energy left to go on my phone." Like, that's still a choice. You may not feel like that is a choice that you're making, but on a subconscious level, at least, you're still allowing yourself to make that choice. By saying no to this, you're saying yes to that. Again, not a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing, but it's something to remember. If I'm saying no to, going for a walk, right? Maybe I'm saying no to that, or maybe I'm simply saying no to going on a walk by saying yes to spending 2 hours on my phone, even if that's not what I intended originally with being on my phone. It's just like it's an opportunity cost. It's what I'm missing out by doing this thing instead. By participating in these activities too, like, you know, checking out mentally at the end of the day, I'm realizing now that when I do that, I am staying in a comfort zone that's not really providing me much satisfaction. Um, I think that's why a lot of people get depressed about things, because they're doing something, they're in a pattern or multiple patterns in their lifestyle. It could be the people they hang out with, it could be their past situations, their current living situations, it could be whatever. It's just no longer providing them the satisfaction they believe they need from those situations. Um, if I'm on social media for 2 hours and I feel like decent in the moment, but then I feel unhappy long term, like it's very easy to still fall back into that pattern, that habit, because it's like we build that level of familiarity and addiction with it, and you can even put your identity with it too. Oh, I drink and all that stuff. I'm a drinker, right? Or I used to be a stoner, but I realized I don't have to say I'm a stoner. I just smoke weed, or I did smoke weed, and that wasn't a habit that was fulfilling me any longer. I used to work in the dispensary, and it was hard for me to quit at the time because literally everybody I knew in that setting smoked weed. And, that's what I bonded with them over. And now I'm realizing that that really was only the only depth to those relationships. Um, and, just like when I left the job, it just became far easier to be on the fence about quitting. And then I quit. And I found a community of other people who were quitting that kind of stuff. And that helped a lot. Still does. But even when I was in the movement of being, do I want to quit? Do I not want to quit? Blah, blah, blah. I still had to several times and push myself to be out in uncomfortable situations, not like unhealthy situations, but like learning new activities, meeting new people, being consistent with the schedule. And I'm not going to act like I master that because those are skills I still need to hone. Sometimes I fall back a bit. Um, but it's it's been far greater of a benefit for me just as a human being, just as living my life, to quit something that I held on to for so long, for so many things, so many reasons. Anxiety, identity, make something boring fun, um, social settings, creativity, because I used to make a lot of stuff with weed, edibles, and all that. And like, I'm autistic too. That was my special interest. I would literally think about that constantly for a while. And it just wasn't making me happy anymore. I wasn't happy with it long term. So, it was taking away from my life. Um, I'm going from this, from talking about like emotions to talking about habits. And I guess what I want to say to kind of like put this back into like a completed loop or whatever the phrase is that when you're dealing with something in life, it's all about balance. As difficult as that is, and as impossible as it feels sometimes, it's about balance. So you can feel, you are allowed to feel every single emotion that you do, right? You're allowed to visit painful memories or sensations that you feel. Um, Anything that is coming up to you, the stories that you have in your head. As much as you are the one who writes your own story, you are also the one who experiences it, whatever that may mean to you at any given moment. There is there's so much advice out there, especially with the information and technology we have nowadays, that's very easy to be overloaded with one or two or three or however many messages. But if we're going to be real, one, there's no set message, because even what I'm sharing with you right now is going to be expanded upon for me, even maybe the next moment or whatever day or week, month experience happens, right? And I just grow from it. It's like the caterpillar again, because that's life. We're continuously adapting. If you believe that you have the answer to everything, life is just going to go around and keep, showing you new challenges that will break that down until eventually you're forced to see otherwise, or not really force, but it'll scream itself in your face. The second thing is, there are so many wise people out there, and you can even feel their energy. But the the ultimate guru for you at the end of the day is going to be your own inner guru. I'm not talking about ego. I'm talking about the spirit within you, the part of the universe that's in you. Because if you really were meant to understand and be exactly the way somebody else experienced life, right? You would be me, or I would be you. There would simply not be another you. Or, sorry, there simply wouldn't be a you. There wouldn't be a me. We are the different colors of the rainbow, the light refracted into different colors. Doesn't mean red and orange won't have some similarities, right? But at the end of the day, different things are going to resonate with you at different points in your life. Different messages. You're not really doing things wrong necessarily, quote unquote, just because someone else says you are, or you're practicing a method and it's no longer sustaining something for you. It's no longer bearing the fruits, at least the way you see it. Maybe there's a lesson there. Maybe, I know for me on my current manifestation path, I am learning, like I would manifest something, right? And all of a sudden challenges of patience and frustration and all that stuff would come up. And I'd be thinking to myself, well, feel and then let it go, right? Got to be at the gratitude level. But the truth of the matter, at least for me, is like I can kind of feel both. Like I can feel the pain of the frustration. I can feel the anger of the frustration because I understand that it's not only a natural part of me as a living being, but it is also a transformative process in its own right. Not something I force, right? But I can feel, and over the period of time, where it comes and goes like waves in the oceans, sometimes it disappears and it'll come back, whatever. It'll transform aspects of my life. As long as I'm responsible with them, I'm not going to be like saying, oh, use your anger to justify beating somebody else up or cursing somebody. Like, I get it. Like, if you hate somebody, it's very easy to want to spew that venom. Like, if you do that, as I have done, that's our own karma. That is our own place in the spiritual hell, or whatever you want to call it, that we're building for ourselves. Because that's what we're putting out there. And it's on each of us to kind of navigate and maneuver around that, even if it's difficult. Even if it doesn't feel like, it's justified. Yeah, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. Well, hold on. Yeah, so like, just go with what resonates for you. And all right, when it comes to feeling painful emotions, like, yeah, feel them, because that could also be a greater part of what you're putting out there to the universe. If you're expecting to change somebody by practicing a certain spiritual method or whatever it is, yeah, I'm still learning that people are, and surrounding situations are parts of our inner stories and dialogues and all that stuff. Like they're inner reflections of our core reality, our inner reality. And that's definitely true. But I would ask you to consider not staying in an unhealthy situation or relationship just with the expectation that somebody else is going to change if you allow yourself to tolerate their bad behavior or a lack of your own boundaries being respected, because that in and of itself is actually a sign of codependency, at least in my experience. I've been the person who was overly forgiving towards somebody who didn't deserve it, overly understanding, tried to put forth love and compassion. Now, I'm not saying that those things don't have a place in the situation I'm talking about, but at the end of the day, I had to learn how to walk away from this abusive situation and this toxic person and learn other things in doing so about myself. Why did I stay there for so long? Why did I do what I do? What are the behaviors I wasn't like conscious of before that allowed me to stay there? I'm not necessarily saying abusive behaviors on my end, but like, oh, why was I tolerating this? Why was I apologizing for things I didn't do? And just it's leading to other things, greater self-love, boundaries, how to set them, how to stand up for myself and speak my voice in the way that I wish to be, and how to forgive, all that stuff, while not falling back into a similar pattern again. Very much loving my being and learning to love and forgive somebody who may be deplorable, but I don't have to be attached to them, I guess. You can still find the vibrations of gratitude and forgiveness and love, even if you allow yourself to feel these moments of hurt and these emotions and all that stuff. Just as easily, you can also, or just as importantly, you must also find a way to give yourself that love and self-care in a healthy way, in a way that allows you to be in the moment of where you are. If you're depressed and you see your house is going to shit, as difficult as it may be, it's also, you can still be there for you by cleaning up a small portion of the room that you're in or whatever. It's important. You're doing that for you. You're forgiving other people for you. And yeah, I think the last thing I would like to say in this video is that just because you have a very intricate story that is very real and you are very much allowed to feel for you, when people say that you are the creator of your own story, you are the universe, this non-being that has this identity, I think that very much needs to be put into perspective too. Now, I'm going to say from how I'm viewing this right now. This could very much change for me tomorrow, whatever, I don't know. And it could be vastly different from what it needs to be for you at any given moment. When you write your own story, it's important to know that you have the power to understand why you're giving your power away to other people in other situations. What were the things you were actually looking for? What were the conditions on your own happiness, peace of mind, sense of safety, whatever it is that you were putting forth without realizing it? And that's the difficult question. When you do that, what were you hoping for? If you didn't have a parent who was there for you early in life and you felt like that impacted you for the majority of your life, that's totally okay. But what was it that you were truly looking for with them? Was it love? Was it connection? Was it safety? Go deeper beyond that too. And ask yourself, this is what I'm asking myself now, but for this example, we'll say, why is this an important condition for my happiness? I could say my sense of peace and joy was never reliant upon me having, in this example, right, me having my father in my life or not having my father in my life. It was simply a condition I put. It doesn't negate the experience of not having a father, but it also reminds me that I have had bliss in my life in other areas outside of him being there. I've had happiness, love, joy, security, even in small moments, right? Without him being there. So, that was never really a condition on my happiness. It's just a part of the story I tell myself. That being said, don't allow yourself, like I said before, to use that as a justification to stay in a toxic situation or relationship that no longer serves you. If you say, "Oh, I never had my sense of happiness never was reliant on a partner being there for me or hearing me, or not even just a partner, but like anyone being able to understand me, right? Because I can understand myself." That's very important. That's very powerful. Um, but I think it would be healthier to have that mindset and be outside of a relationship at that point that was no longer healthy for you, where there was a partner who was ignoring you or disrespecting you or dismissing your needs. That being said, if you're carrying that mindset too of, that was never a condition of my happiness, I can live fully, that's great. And if you end up being with somebody else later down the line who does respect your needs and you theirs, it's like having the ice cream, but now you have the whipped cream and all the other toppings on top, right? It's great, but you can eat the ice cream without it too. Um, don't throw away the whipped cream if you don't, you know, over any little thing. You can appreciate it, you can be grateful, but you can also have that balanced out with this inner dialogue, and if you're in a situation where, like I said, you're not being respected, you don't disrespect yourself by dismissing your own emotions, even if they feel like that of a kid's. Even if your partner does something and you feel disrespected or you feel uncomfortable or hurt, what I'm learning now is it's very important for you to be able to share that. Now, if that person is in a state of receiving, if they're not defensive, right, and you're sharing this in a way that your intention, if your intention is not to hurt, right, but your intention is to be calm, reasonable, that's great. If you can reflect and say, I was being like, oh, screaming, blah, 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 that's something to work with. That's harmful. But if your partner is like responding with a level of defensiveness and they're not willing to understand where you're coming from, even after repeated discussions, that's an impasse. And even if it's something as small as, doing the dishes, or, you didn't feel comfortable with how they talked to somebody else in front of you, or, whatever, right? That's part of relationships. They need to be there for you just as much as you need to be there for them, even in these moments where you feel childish, because that inner child is the part of you that's trying to be heard, is trying to grow, and it's the part of you that has like all these core beliefs behind. You're still responsible for your core beliefs, um, and how you approach the world about them, but a supportive partnership is where both people are able to regulate themselves in a healthy way. In a healthy way. That's the key point right there. But they can also co-regulate each other. That's something I'm learning now too. Doesn't mean codependent, but co-regulate. Like they can be there for each other. Um, they can have clear-cut communication. They can have plans for communication, dialogues, understanding of each other's attachment styles and love languages, and all the stuff that even now I'm still learning and you are learning. It's a continuous process. Um, that's great. That's a healthy relationship in my eyes. Anyways, I've been talking for a long time. I've been sharing a lot of things with you. Just take what resonates with you. Visit this video as much times in your life as you feel you need to see it. Um, and just, whatever you believe in, if you believe in God, the universe, nothing. To me, it's all the same thing. It's all the same source. It's just all these paths coming together into different directions and routes, but they all go back to the same thing. Um, just reach out to it. Even if it's you, just reach out to that part of you right there. Sit with it, meditate. Even if it feels painful, even if you want confidence but you only get anxiety, sit with that aspect of you and just kind of live your journey. Good luck, fellow travelers.